It's playtime with the Sleepy Boys.
All right, everybody. Today we're going to be getting into the other part of our 2020 discussion. And Mark and I felt that to include this in the other part would have been, we would have had to truncate it too much and cut up too much of it because, I mean, it would have been a like 3-hour episode.
And as it was, 2020 was already a long episode, and it felt wrong to just bookend it with this. So we wanted to give it its own. We wanted to give it its own time.
So we wanted to, as Mark said, we wanted to give this its own time. So we are gonna get into the Black Lives Matter movement that has been going on since,
forever.
Right. Well, it's been going on for a long time now, but
and
being reignited.
Yeah. And I do want to say that the fact that it's 2020 and we have to still revisit this issue it's fucked.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things that you constantly look at and you're like, why is this still an issue? Why?
Yeah.
We always talk about how human beings, we are so advanced and we've come such a long way. And I'm like, this is such a primal, just dumb BS, mentality. Why does this mentality still exist where we look at other human beings and look at them as lesser? Like, why?
Yeah. Now, I do want to preface this particular podcast by saying we did an original recording of this. This is actually a second draft based kind of sort of thing that we're doing right now. The original we felt was a lot more heated as far as emotions. It's very raw. Very, very raw conversation. And we, as the creators and the hosts of this podcast, felt that it was...
Don't worry. I'll take care of those ratings.
What's the word I'm looking for, Brandon?
I don't know. What is the word you're looking for?
We felt that it was inappropriate for us. Not inappropriate. Like, of course, yes, we have. It is 100% okay to be upset and frustrated with the way things are going, but it is not. There's a right way of handling this, and there's a wrong way of handling this. And getting on and yelling and getting emotional for an hour wasn't the way of handling it.
Yeah, and I think other groups I've been very open about this. I don't care, however people want to protest. I've seen multiple times that rioting and angry, getting angry are the voices of those who have been ignored. And so for me, I'm like, totally fine. Like, however you want to protest is fine. At some point, we will make the scrapped episode available.
Right.
In some way, shape, or form. Because we made a lot of good points and we had a lot of things that we liked from the episode. But there is something that kind of weighed on me a lot about, particularly how I went about it. I am usually not one to self-censor at all. Mark will tell you.
Oh my God, no! I have to do all the censoring for you, you bitch.
Oh, I know. But this was one of those things. I was like, it just, for whatever reason, was just kind of weighing on me. I was like, I think we could have done. I don't want to say better, but I felt personally that I'm like, this isn't something that I need to yell at. Because yelling, especially in these kind of media, in these kind of forums, it's like yelling in, like, whenever you get in, like, arguments online. Like, nobody listens when you yell.
Exactly.
Or get angry online. You just have more people just yelling at each other and nothing gets done.
Exactly.
So I really wanted Mark and I to kind of redo the episode as more of a conversational piece, kind of like, this is still the very early days of this podcast and what it's going to evolve into. It's going to change as time goes on because Mark and I are going to change and grow.
We don't know where we're going to be in, like, even at the, like, later in this year. We just know where we're at now.
Right. And so, but what I can say is I feel the best, our Mark and I's best work comes out of our conversations.
That's right.
And Mark and I do not yell at each other.
Well,
It has happened very rarely. And the only time we yell at each other is when we're like, we are BSing and we are like trying to get each other ramped up
and
for one reason or another.
Yeah, and one of the things that I'm good at is getting you ramped up, and this is
You get me to yell.
exactly. And this is an instance where we do want to take this more seriously. Like, yes, we laugh, we joke on our podcast, but right now we want to take this seriously. There has been a lot of issues going on for, again, far too long. This isn't something that is new. This isn't something that's just been our generation. It's been an ongoing problem that we've had in America as well as the rest of the world for far too long.
Well, also, I mean, the problem is we live in a country and a society where, I mean, our foundation is built on the backs of black people and those who were enslaved. They weren't, I mean, one of the perspectives that I've taken is they weren't slaves. They were kidnapped and they were enslaved. They were forced into, like, I mean, that,
They were
it's just
abducted.
one of those things I've heard. Yeah, I've just heard. I've started following a lot of different people on social media. I've followed Sean King for a long time now, but I just started following Makad Brooks, who, to reference another podcast that I love, that I mean. That I just love and have gotten into is the Duncan Trussell Family Hour, which is, for those of you who have Netflix, is the inspiration for the Midnight Gospel, which if y'all haven't watched that, I highly recommend it. I love it. But he's had Makad Brooks on now twice. And I swear, I mean, that man captivated me. And just, I started following him on his social media pages and stuff. And he is doing a really cool thing right now, where he is doing like I think it's a 21-day anti-racist challenge. And it's just him doing videos, kind of challenging people who are listening. And it's really interesting. I love his perspective, and I've always thought of myself as constantly trying to keep the ball rolling as far as social justice and civil rights and stuff. I mean, especially more into my adult life since I growing like, I think one of the things from the scrapped episode that, we did is, was talking about how growing up, I had a certain mentality where, we learn about racism and stuff in history, so it must be history. Like, it's not a thing anymore. And growing up in a very diverse church and growing up in Richmond, Virginia, I had a very diverse friend group. And I didn't see a lot of racism, even though it was everywhere around me, as y'all have seen on the news right now and stuff. I mean, a ton of Confederate statues are coming down. It's a long time coming.
Long overdue.
Yeah, long overdue, much needed, and I get a lot of joy out of watching those videos, mainly because I know it's from my hometown. I'm like, yes, I love seeing that my hometown is doing all these things to start the healing process. And I think I was reading an article yesterday where the governor or the mayor, I forget which elected official it was, but did release a statement saying that all the Confederate statues and monuments are going to be coming down. And I hope that happens. I really do.
On the topic of the statues coming down and the fuss that a lot of Southerners are raising about that, I'd like to remind people that the Confederate statues to the black community and everything is very similar to the, statues of Nazis that were around after World War II that were torn down. Because
yes, yeah, absolutely.
Because it's historical. A lot of people down south are like, well, my ancestors, this is historical. This is, everything was, it's in the past. But the problem is if you still have those statues of,
I know exactly what you're getting at, but I think what you're getting at is imagine, and there have been posts going around that Mark and I have seen that we're kind of referencing here. One done by Francis Maxwell, who's another civil activist, political activist who I love to follow. And he has a very entrancing, just Scottish accent that just kind of sucks you in. He put up a post saying, imagine what it would be like for Jews to walk around Germany and see statues of Hitler and stuff today.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at.
Once you imagine the kind of put that in perspective, that's what America has done. And a lot of these statues weren't put up right after the Civil War to memorialize these people who had passed on or tragically died or anything. This stuff was intentionally put up after the turn of the century and was used as a fear tactic.
Stay safe, people.
I mean, during, I don't know when the earliest one went up, but I know they were going up like crazy during the 1930s. Through the 50s, and I think one of the most recent ones that got put up was in 2010.
And we're at a point in history where that shouldn't be something we have to worry about.
Yeah, and here's the other thing. There are a lot of people that are like, but these statues, they represent our history. Yeah, sure, they absolutely do.
Here's the fun thing, guys. It's okay. It's fine. If you have a history, if you have heritage, I'm not saying get rid of your heritage, but what I'm saying is stop glorifying, Jefferson Davis. Stop glorifying all those fucking Southern generals that were slave owners, proud slave owners, might I add. And I'm not even saying get with the times. I'm saying just be a decent fucking human being.
Yeah. Let's forget getting with the times. Let's get with being decent human beings. And, one of the things that just constantly sticks out to me is so many Americans are Christians. This is a very Christian,
Stay safe.
devout country.
Nothing to report.
And so many of the Southerners just not even just Southerners, just these Confederate, I almost called them simps.
The Confederate sympathizers.
The Confederate sympathizers and these people who want to glorify that time of our history, they're Christians. I don't want to say all of them are, because I don't know who all of them are, but a good majority of them are. And one of the things that sticks out to me is, and I've seen it multiple times, racism and Christianity cannot coexist. And to quote the Bible, which is not something I typically make a habit of doing.
Quote that Bible.
I don't like preaching. But it is one of our God-given duty, like bestowed upon us as human beings, whether you're a Christ follower or not,
Playing games with me.
but to love thy neighbor. And we don't choose who our neighbors are. And your neighbor is not just the person who lives next door to you, who lives in your building, or lives across the street from you. Your neighbor is your fellow human beings. Like, they can be in this country, they can be in other countries. It doesn't matter. If they, like, we are all in this together, and to marginalize and treat anybody who has a different skin color than you, a different sexuality than you,
A different heritage or upbringing.
yeah, different heritage and like different language. If you treat them or you view them as lesser, you're a shitty person and you need a heart change. And that's as angry as I will try to get in this whole thing.
Yeah, man, we can't redo this for a third time.
Yeah, we can't. I mean, we could, but I'd rather not.
Yeah, we got other things to talk about. But
yeah.
I absolutely agree with you. Like, we are at a point in it. 2020, for a lot of reasons, is going to be a defining year.
Oh, this is absolutely a milestone year.
This is
I
a
mean,
huge
this-
milestone year.
This is the new our generation's 1969.
I think we've actually had that exact same phrase came out in our 2020 podcast.
I'm sure, and I know I mentioned it several times in our script.
Right. Now, one of the things is with 2020, and like I said, it's a huge landmark year, and it's for a multitude of reasons. We put people in space by a privately funded company. We have a disease that's basically putting everything on lockdown,
Stay safe out there.
and we have a much more prominent protest that is happening right now.
I think I was reading something. I saw an article that was saying the Black Lives Matter movement is the strongest movement to happen in American history.
And it absolutely should be. Like, I'm not discrediting any other
Or most
movements
like
that have happened.
widespread movement. I forget exactly what the wording was.
But this year it's set to really it's going to change everything about American culture. Like, we have in 2020 proven that not only are there are those jobs that have always been said like they're not jobs that you can do from home. We've proven that's wrong. There are a number of jobs that we've been told like you can't do from home, but we've gone above and beyond and proven that we can do that. Also, like, it's really bringing to light what essential workers need or what essential workers are going through on top of everything else that's going on. Because you figure, like, the essential worker right now is getting paid less than people that are on unemployment.
Broadcasting
Yeah.
all day,
And
all
that-
across the Commonwealth.
in
And
and of
to
itself is
see
fucked.
the GOP
Keep it tuned here for
look at it and go, this has to stop, like, really kind of puts into perspective on like how our leaders view its people.
I took care of your radio
Because
Thanks.
this country is not
when we're in trouble.
like, this isn't like other countries, you know. Our economic system does not run like other countries do. And our working class should not be, and I'm not just talking working class as like people who work in factories. Our working class are the people who are the essential workers. Like, all of a sudden, you have grocery store workers, you have fast food, gas station employees, nurses, doctors, I mean, firefighters, even, you know, police officers. I will include, you know,
Here's
because all these people who make things run are underpaid.
And here's the thing, like we've talked about before. I work at undisclosed banking financial institution. I can work from home. I don't need to go out into the world to do my job. Now
Sure.
you have these people that work in retail that
Me.
are being
Alert. One of our
forced to
settlements
work
is asking
now
for help. All Minutemen
because
Yeah.
they can't
respond.
they don't qualify for unemployment for one reason or another. They can't afford to do an online or like they can't get those online jobs because right now nobody's hiring, and they're being forced to go work in conditions where you have people that are just refusing to wear their masks, that are just refusing to follow
Oh, God, I
common.
know.
It all comes back
Just
to
had
common.
we just had a protest led by Alex Jones, an anti-mask protest here in Austin.
Yeah, of course. we
It's
fucking did.
ridiculous.
But it comes back again to this, just the basic human decency that we're just not having. And those same people that are the ones that are lacking the basic human decency to wear a fucking mask when they go to like Walmart or something are the same people that are just turning a blind eye to everything that's going on with this Black Lives Matter movement.
I mean, it is quite amazing the similar mentalities that you have of people who don't want to acknowledge or support the Black Lives Matter, but then also don't want to wear a mask. Like I was talking, well, I'll leave them nameless. Was talking with somebody the other day
Yeah.
that they were talking about like how they're completely misinformed. They and their spouse aren't taking this pandemic really seriously.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, well, all these spikes and everything are happening because, the protests aren't helping. And I'm like, actually, not to be the guy that says actually, but
Brennan, we all know that you love being the guy that says actually, and there's nothing wrong with that.
I don't. I'm cursed. It's a curse. I swear.
It is.
But so I immediately, it was just, I sent them some articles later. I was like, here you go. Do some reading. I think this will, and I didn't attack them. I was like, I think this will really open up your eyes to the fact that the protests aren't like, sure, you have some people that aren't wearing masks at the protest. And who knows? It could just be a quick snapshot of somebody who took their mask off real quick because they needed to catch a breath or take a sip of water or something.
Right.
But even if they're not, they are outside. And the virus really doesn't have that much of a hold once you're outside.
It's not an airborne thing.
Yeah. I mean, it can be if you're within close enough proximity.
Right. Well, typically
when danger there.
Right. When I say airborne, I mean it's not like you walk outside and inhale and you're going to die. kind of
Right,
thing.
right, exactly.
Well, and here's the thing that some people need to understand. Like, I'm not saying that people shouldn't be wearing masks, but there are circumstances that prevent some people from wearing masks.
I want to be understanding and sympathetic to those people, but you and I have a common person in our life who made a statement on Facebook talking about how technically by medical standards has restrictions as to why they shouldn't wear a mask because it is dangerous or it doesn't help their health situation.
All
But
right.
they still go out, and when they do go out, I mean, they're very limited about when they do go out because they know their health limitations.
Right.
But when they go out, they're wearing a mask, and they were like, look, if I am not using this as an excuse, and I have a legitimate health reason, then you shouldn't either. Like, we all need to make sacrifices right now. And I know for a lot of people, it is tough and it's scary.
Well, here's something that
But we all
people-
gotta take some hits, you know?
This is a very uncomfortable time in our world, and we gotta just fucking deal with it at this point.
Yeah.
But here's something
Anyway-
that I found very interesting is a lot of the same kind of people that are saying like masks are just a way to oppress us right now.
Yeah.
Those are the same people that when seatbelts first came out were like seatbelts are dumb.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And also the same people that I find it funny that are like, oh, these masks are designed to oppress us. And I'm like, okay, so how about this Black Lives Matter thing? about anti-oppression. They're like, oh, I don't support it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
People, it's amazing how fucking one-sided. Like, it's literally like talking to a brick wall when you try to be like, so, you support this thing? Well, no, it doesn't affect me.
Oh, interesting.
It's interesting how
And
how
that's
that
a
doesn't affect
reflection
you.
of somebody's privilege.
Goddamn right. And that's one thing that I do want to say is as much as white people like to pretend they don't have privilege, they really do.
Oh, absolutely. I had a great moment with my parents in quarantine. I know a lot of people are struggling with family and their perspective during this time, and that there are some people out there that don't either feel like they can't talk to their parents or know they can't because of certain things. And so people are put into a very uncomfortable time right now with conversations within their family. I am so thankful that that is not something I have to worry about with my parents. We got into a lot of different discussions and was so happy to see, not that I've ever been like, oh, I wonder if my parents are racist, that because they have never once shown me that they are. But it's one of those things that it's once again, it's just one of those freeing things that's like, man, I'm really happy that one with my parents, even though my parents and I do have differing political views, the difference with my parents, my family, especially within my household, we didn't really get into politics. The rest of my family, I cannot say the same. But with my parents, we didn't fight with each other about politics. And especially now as adults, my siblings and I being adults, we have straight up just conversations. We don't even have tensions fly. We may get passionate about what we're talking about, but it's not because we're angry at one another. We just get passionate. My family is very passionate about things, and we get loud.
You? Loud? No.
Oh no, not at all. And then my mom, like, to give you an example of kind of how these conversations go, my mom and I were watching the news, and the topic of defunding the police came up. And my mom, it felt uncomfortable by it. And she's like, I don't know. She's like, I fully support the Black Lives Matter movement and making sure that, this systemic racism ends. But I don't know how I feel about the defund the police. And I go, all right, well, kind of what are your questions? And we broke it down. And by the end of the conversation, my mom, I explained it to my mom what it meant, broke it down to like how city budgets are like set up, and most police precincts, if they don't use their budget, they lose it. So that's why we have such a militarized police force, because they're just blowing money left and right. Even if they don't need the money, they're just gonna keep buying newer and newer equipment every year. So by the end of the conversation, my mom was like, oh, thank you for explaining it to me, because now I understand. And yeah, I think I do support that. And it's just one of those things that if you open up the avenue for actual kind of conversations to just happen where you're not yelling at each other. Now, like I said, my family is not reflective of other people's families, and I mean, I feel bad for people that aren't able to have these kind of cool conversations. They do have to argue. They aren't. The other thing you have to understand is you're not always going to get through to your family, and your family. You will encounter families that are steadfast in their ways and will not change. If that happens, just rest assured you have people that support you. And you're not alone in your beliefs, and the best thing you can do is, you know, keep moving forward. You know, keep fighting for what you believe in and looking out for your fellow man. And yeah, just, I mean, you're gonna encounter conflict. It's gonna happen, whether it be in your family, your friend groups, your church, I don't know, at work. I mean, at this point, I don't know any work, any job that's just going to come out and be blatantly like, yeah, we support these racist ideals. And because, I mean, people will boycott the hell out of them. But yeah, I mean, the change is going to come. And I think it's a true testament for how long these protests have been going on now, just how dedicated people are to making change happen. So
That's absolutely right. And that's the thing, is it's not going to be an easy thing to transition through. It's going to be painful. It's going to be
no things that are worth fighting for are ever easy.
That's exactly it. And like, there's going to be a long road to getting to a place that we need to be in, but it is something that's necessary.
I mean, the road to get there is not nearly as long as it has been.
That's very true.
I mean, that's one of those things I have to keep in perspective. I'm like, man, like I keep hearing like, you know, it's a long road, but we're going to get there. I'm like, man, you know, you kind of take a step back and you just think about like how long this has been. You know, people have been fighting for change. And it's like, God damn, I'm so sorry that it took so long for us to get here, but I'm extremely happy that we are here. I kind of I made a post this morning, and this is going to go up relatively soon, so I'll talk about what date it is. This is the day after, this is July 5th. And, you know, Mark asked me to make a post, and I wanted to make sure I spoke for both of us, but it also very much came from my perspective and kind of, it was my words. But we, you know, made a post last night for yesterday for 4th of July, and I think it super, you know, reflects where both Mark and I are at and where our hearts are at in this whole process. As we were posting up, I sent over Mark the words of what I wanted on our social media. I immediately just started scrolling through my news feed, and for a lot of people know that Seattle has been very active with a lot of the intense protesting have happened in Seattle. Not like the most intense, but a lot of the continued protests. I forget how many weeks now that we're in with Seattle just constantly, nonstop protesting. But it's been going on for a good bit. I saw a video that I was not prepared to see. I was scrolling through my Instagram feed, and there were protesters out on a highway that was blocked by the police to protect the protesters. And they had protesters that were dancing to the Cupid Shuffle, and, you know, it was peaceful. I saw the video of the guy and the person in the sports car who just plowed through two people. And I wanted to talk about this woman. I posted up a little thing to my story on my personal Facebook story, and we'll post it up on our social media later today. I'm sure some of y'all will see it. But news came out this morning that one of the women who was struck by the car, there are two people. There was Summer Taylor and Diaz Love. both as of last night when I originally saw the video were in critical condition. But this morning or at some point, I forget when, let's see what time, I can't see what time.
It looks like it was very early this morning that it was announced that she had died.
Yeah. But Summer Taylor, unfortunately, did not make it. She was 24 years old. And, you know, she is well known in the activist community. But yeah, she succumbed to her injuries. And it's just, I mean, this person plowed through the police blockade, I think going the opposite way of traffic.
Let's see.
And so here's the other, all right, so here's what I will say, because I did find this little bullet. So the article is a Seattle protester who was struck by a car has died. This was updated at 12:28 p.m. This is on CNN's website.
Stay safe, people.
The suspect, a 27-year-old man, was given a sobriety test and showed no signs of impairment, which means this was a deliberate, intentional attack with the intention of murder. So yeah. And I mean, he was driving a Jag, like a pretty nice new Jag. So this is not
like, this wasn't an accident. This was definitely premeditated.
this wasn't an accident. And immediately I'm having flashbacks to what happened in Charlottesville when that group of people were just plowed through like they were nothing.
Right.
But so, yeah, this is just, I mean, oh gosh, the best way to say it is I just feel numb, but not numb in the sense of like I'm getting used to this. I feel numb because I have so many emotions going through me.
This is Radio
Like
Like, it's absolutely unbelievable that there are people in this world that
Stay safe out there, people.
that are just that sick that they would decide that, you know, peaceful protesters deserve to be killed.
yeah, and just the whole. I mean, I think I've been going through something lately. I'm starting to take into account more, like, not say like I never understood like the meaning of death and stuff.
Right.
But I think at this point, and I think this is kind of what the pandemic has done to me, is kind of awakening me to what death means. More in the sense of like tragic deaths. I'm not talking like people who live to be like in their 80s or 90s, had like a full life and stuff. Like, while those are sad, there is just this, there's something just innately that just has been breaking me up about these tragic deaths. Just these unjust, like, why? You know, like, things that are just happening that just break me up inside. And there's just something about, I'm really, like, even right now, like, I'm usually pretty articulate and I don't usually have a hard time finding words, but I'm having a hard time finding words because I'm still in the process of trying to put this together, mentally speaking. But just like somebody having a different voice than you and you want to snuff that person out, you want to rob them of their life because you're selfish. To call you a monster is being nice. I've been thinking a lot of Vanessa Guillen, I'm sure I said her last name wrong and I'm so sorry. The woman who was murdered in Fort Hood 2 days after reporting or not, like, I don't know if it's 2 days, but very soon after reporting on 2 superior officers for sexual harassment. And she was bludgeoned to death.
This
Like,
is Radio Freedom,
how?
broadcasting all day,
I don't-
all across the Commonwealth.
and all these people that take,
Stay safe out there.
that say, you know, oh, support the military, and, you know, we have to support our soldiers and stuff. I don't see those people right now talking about her.
Right. And
And-
here's the thing is I was in the military. I was in it for 4 years. And that's one of the things that is so infuriating is it's like there was definitely signs of harassment. There was definitely signs of racism the entire time I was there. But that was never acknowledged. Like I had one of my drill sergeants at boot camp that was very, very much harassing the female recruits in my graduating class.
Hmm.
And not just mine, like for a long time he had been harassing the female recruits, and it had been reported a number of times. And finally he did end up getting like dishonorably discharged, military police, all that kind of stuff happened on the grounds that he had stolen a couple of ammunition magazines from the armory that he was in charge of.
Wait, so essentially the thing that he should have gotten in trouble for, there's like, we're just going to Al Capone this guy and just get him on tax evasion, like taxes kind of thing,
Basically,
the equivalent.
Yeah, basically. Like, there was never anything done about the sexual harassment. Like, I'm pretty sure that there was at least 1 or 2 of the girls in my graduating class that ended up doing illicit things for him just so they could get past their physical fitness exams.
Well, I mean, that's, people are put in these strenuous circumstances that normal human, like, people shouldn't have to deal with this, but there's so many people. I mean, it's like what we've been talking about with, like, the police. There are people, once you give them power, they abuse their power.
That's absolutely right. And
that's where we're at. This started back with, like, the Me Too movement, and it's continuing now. It is all about accountability and holding those who abuse their power by any means and holding them accountable for their actions. So, I don't know. It's just, you know, it's just one of those things that it's not to say, like, you know, it's just one of those things that even though there's a lot of good happening, there are still these, like, moments that you're like, this is why these protests and stuff still need to happen and why these movements need to continue on, because there are still people not listening. And, you know, change is going to come and it's going to take time, but we will get there.
it's just a matter of...
Yeah, it's just a matter of time, and it has to.
On the topic of this just racism being in life, I want to say to all those people that hang up the Dixie flag, and
You mean Confederate flag?
they don't call it that because that can be perceived
I don't
as...
care what they call it.
I'm sorry,
gonna call it what it is.
I'm speaking to the fucking rednecks that claim that it's a part of their heritage.
Those people haven't listened this far.
You're probably right. But to the people, if you are still listening and you have a fucking Confederate flag anywhere in your home, on the clothing you wear, hanging up in your bedroom, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
You are such a big part of this problem.
At this point, if you still have a Confederate flag, just know NASCAR beat you to getting rid of Confederate flags.
That is your national sport, you fucking rednecks. And
That's
they
your
got rid of it.
goddamn pastime.
Like, yeah, this whole mentality, like I said, it's all a mentality that we as a nation, we as a world, as an entire species need to change.
Yeah.
Because if you look at, look in the animal kingdom, we as humans try to pretend that we are so much superior to other animals. But if you look at the animal kingdom, you could argue that the animal kingdom has racism. Now, not necessarily to, like, as
Freedom,
Oh.
the voice of the Minutemen.
This gonna sound bad, but
Oh boy.
no, not not in such
Do you
black and
need to
white
cut
terms.
this?
No. It's just it's the analogy like with racism right now. It's pretty black and white. What like yes, things that people do are racist. With the animal kingdom, there are tribes of chimpanzees that will go to war with other tribes of chimpanzees because they're not part of the same tribe. Now, I'm not saying that humanity is broken down into tribes, but it's a very similar situation.
Well, it was very much our foundation.
Exactly. And if we as humans are trying to claim that we are so superior to the other apes in general, the other like primates in general, then we need to stop behaving like those other primates do.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah.
Like we should, it's 2020. We should not be having discussions about whether or not we need to treat everyone the same.
This shit shouldn't have made it past the first civil rights movement.
This shit shouldn't have happened at all.
No, it shouldn't have happened. But unfortunately, we can't go back and change what happened. But it is going back to one of these things that I was talking about, like the harsh realization that I had to come to the understanding that racism did not end with the civil rights movement.
Broadcasting all
Right.
day, all across
And
the Commonwealth.
and I don't give a fuck what people say. Yes, the textbook definition of racism is bigotry in a place where somebody has power. Bigotry is just having beliefs that other races are, like having preconceived notions and stereotyping of other races based on your own personal beliefs. As a white person, you already come from a place of power that like you don't even think about with your white privilege.
Yeah.
And the fact that you still have like that you still have bigotry about like those people that I saw this thing. I don't remember what, I think it was iFunny. Of all places to see this, I saw this on iFunny. It was a guy that was talking about, hey, you know what? You're right. Let's get rid of police for a while. While the police are gone, it'll be up to me and my redneck friends who have our own shotguns. We have our own everything. We'll uphold the law while the cops are gone, and we'll see how long it takes for you to beg for them to come back. By saying that, you're saying that
Whatever you bring in is going to be worse, and they're going to put you into submission to being happy with what you get.
not even just that. It's just it's basically saying that inherently African Americans are going to just turn to lives of crime. And that, by saying that, you're proving every single person that has that mentality is the problem. Like I've seen, everybody that has the mentality of like once the police are gone, that crime's just going to run rampant.
Oh, sure.
That mentality is 99% of the problem.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly the same mentality that a lot of the police officers out there have.
Well, it's the same thing that made the police force become more militarized during the, out of the 70s and into the 80s. The whole war on crime and war on drugs thing was just this. The Republican Party insists on ramping up. They're not looking at, they're like, oh, people are talking about police brutality. Apparently we're not being brutal enough.
Yeah, let's show them. We'll show. It's that same thing that parents will do.
But
I'll
at the same
I'll give
time,
you something to cry about.
But I can't even say that the Democrats are even better, because the most violence that have come out of these protests have been in Democrat-run cities.
That's right. It's just the system's broken.
Yeah, it's a broken system.
So,
and guess what? We can't even blame politicians for this. We cannot put all the blame on them. We have to take ownership and responsibility because we let it happen.
That's right.
Sure.
We put those politicians in the position they're in.
Yeah, and we keep voting for them.
Mm-hmm.
Time to hit
And
the
that's why, and we keep allowing things like the DNC and the GOP allow these deciding factors be made for us. These are the people you're going to vote for.
Ready to head back out?
And it's all skewed anyways. And now we've got the fucking president talk about voter suppression. I'm waiting. I'm predicting there's going to be a lot of voter suppression, and guess who it's going to fucking come from? It's going to come from him.
Oh,
It's not going to be coming. It's not going to be mail-in ballots, motherfuckers. It is going to be the president of the United States himself, and they're going to suppress your vote to make sure that fucker or that goddamn orange orangutan gets to stay in another 4 years.
That's right. So we've said a lot today, guys. We've kind of gone really far from our usual kind of talks that we have on this show.
Yeah, Mark and I have always tried not to be. There are a lot of political outlets that people can get into. So for us to start talking about this, well, I personally felt this goes into like my what can I do?
Exactly. And the thing that I personally believe is this isn't a political thing. This is just
a human rights thing.
This is humanity.
It's a shame that this shit has to get politicized.
Exactly. And like I said, we've said a lot today, guys. Just be good. Like, be a decent fucking person.
You know, and I'm going to challenge people. I'm going to challenge them to be better.
Be better than good.
Good's not good enough anymore because apparently you all have been saying you've been good for a while. Guess what? It ain't good enough. You need to be better.
That's fucking right.
And then in my last little thing, and I'll let you close this out, is just remember that
Actually,
you know, this doesn't end when the protests stop.
This does not end when the protests stop.
Yeah, this does not. It keeps going. That's how movements need to keep living, even if people aren't shouting it in the streets. It needs to evolve. It needs to change.
No.
Especially this is, you know, to all my white friends and, you know, to any of our white listeners. Just because you're not hearing about it doesn't mean it's not happening.
I'm actually going to go one step further. Like you're saying, you know, continue the change. I'm going to say don't let the protesting stop.
Oh, I would love to see it keep going.
I'm not saying like go out and rally every weekend or whatever. I'm saying just continue to protest it in any way that you can. Like we are in a world that is so connected by the internet, by everything. Like we have cell phones. You have friends and family that you talk to on your phone, online. Keep spreading this message. And don't let it die.
Yeah, because if you let it die, nothing gets fixed, and this is all for nothing. All these people that have died so far died for nothing.
Exactly.
And the fact that they had to die at all is a shame in it of itself enough. So just remember there are tons of organizations that are constantly looking for donations and support. You know, give to your shelters and your cities. Donate to your food banks. You know, the best way to protest is by supporting your community and by supporting small minority-run businesses. You don't have to keep supporting these conglomerates. You don't have to keep supporting big business. Because frankly, big business doesn't give a shit about your community.
For those people that shop,
they may give out charities every once in a while and stuff, you know, whatever. It's just to pacify you. You want to see good things happen in your community? Support your community.
Be the good things in your community.
Yeah.
Like for one final fuck you to certain people. If you're one of those people that shops at Target or Walmart because their prices are lower, go fuck yourself.
Well, hold on.
Nope.
I will say that if you're working within your own means because we want you to be able to support your family,
different story. Yes, I'll give you that. But if you're one of those people that can afford to support mom and pop shops and you're choosing not to,
yeah,
you're part of the problem.
Yeah, you're part. If your sole income is going just to big businesses, you're not doing any favors for yourself or your community.
So, guys, thank you.
As someone that shopped at Target a lot in college when I first moved here, that place saved my ass.
Yeah, I get that. But guys, thank you for listening today. I we haven't actually said this before on a podcast, but we really want to know what your thoughts are. We do.
Oh boy, sweet. We're gonna get into this.
We want to know what your thoughts are on this entire issue and what you think that we can do to help support it.
Oh gosh, I'm all about it. If you guys have suggestions on what things that you would like us to see, like us to do, or even just suggestions, you don't even have to see us do it. If you just want to be like, hey, consider this. Both of us are all ears.
The best way to get in touch with us, guys, is on social media. We have our Twitter set up and Instagram set up, both of which are SR
Scorpion.
Sleepy Boys. And you can also check out our Facebook page, which is just Sunrise with the Sleepy Boys. Or if you'd prefer, you can send us an email. We've got it set up. It's sunrisewiththesleepyboys@gmail.com.
Yeah, and especially if you feel like we can do more. I don't ever want to become complacent with what I'm doing. I constantly want to be striving to be better, to be more for my friends. I want to be inspiration for my family, and like I have a niece that's just turned 1 not that long ago. I want to be the inspiration for her and for other nieces and nephews that come up, and Lord forbid if I have kids, I want to be able to be the inspiration for them too.
Be the inspiration you want to see in the world, guys.
Yeah.
Continue.